Right, so we have some major leaks regarding iOS 16, so let's delve into it. But first, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours, and with that being said, let's just tuck in. Right, so major disclaimer to begin with, software leaks in the past have been completely bogus, mainly because unlike hardware, software can be contained within Apple's HQ, so as a result, it's very hard to get accurate leaks. So yes, do bear that in mind when I delve into these leaks. Right, so beginning with the most credible source, Mark Gurman, he gives us some pretty boring details regarding this iOS update. So the main upgrades with iOS 16 are going to be updates to notifications and also health tracking features. So beginning with the health features, we're apparently going to see a new version of the health app on the iPhone that's going to add expanded sleep tracking functionality, medicine management, which is pretty nice, and also new women's health features. Now to those features, I do think the medicine management is going to benefit the most, and essentially you should be able to scan the medicine you need, and the phone can remind you when to take the medication, and of course monitor how much you're using. So yes, I can see that being pretty useful, though Gurman does note all these features won't be available on day one. Instead, I'm assuming some could be delayed, much like the release of Universal Control was with last year's updates. Now coming to updates to notifications, this does kinda confuse me because we saw a refresh to notifications last year with iOS 15 with the introduction of Focus. And so what other updates is Apple planning to give us with iOS 16? Well, 9to5Mac found through codes that there might be more configurations and more control with the focus modes you use. And so yes, I'm assuming that's what Gurman's referring to in his report. Oh, by the way, 9to5Mac also found references to new Apple News features coming to iOS 16, so yes, expect that as well, though we don't know exact details on what kind of upgrades we're getting. Now, the big question many of you guys might have is, of course, is iOS getting a redesign? Because, for the most part, iOS has stayed the same since iOS 7 back in 2013, so many of us have been wanting a redesign. And while unfortunately Gurman does say that's not in the plans, iOS 16 is not getting a design change. However guys, I do want to mention that another source has suggested we could see big icons with iOS. In fact, he gave us an image showing us this. Though do note, there are some very sus things about this image, namely the fact there's QuickTime on iOS for some reason, but also this alleged image from an engineer within Apple is using Spotify on their device instead of Apple Music. And while yes, I do find it really hard to believe that Apple engineers are using Spotify instead of Apple Music, so yes, I do think this leak is likely bogus. Anyways, finally Gurman does say that within iOS 16 there's going to be a ton of references to the Apple headset, and so yeah, that does suggest that we're going to see the headset launch during iOS 16's lifespan. Now let's move on to another source, and that is Butch. He also gave us details regarding iOS 16, and some of this does seem to conflict with Gurman's report. So let's begin with the first thing he told us, and that is interactive widgets. So yes, I was very disappointed with the widget implementation with iOS 14 because you could not interact with the widgets, they just displayed information and that was it. And while for something like the music widget, it would be pretty nice to have the ability to control your music on the home screen with the widget. And so yes, Brandon believes with iOS 16 we're going to see that, and that would be a pretty nice upgrade. Now moving on, Brandon also tells us about updates to notifications we could see with iOS, namely the ability to choose specific colors for notification bubbles. So I'm assuming that means for each app or a category of apps, you can choose a specific color. So for example, social media apps could be a red, and then entertainment apps like YouTube and Netflix, they could be yellow, etc, etc. And yes, I do think that would be a nice way of sorting notifications with iOS. Now comes the conflicting part of this report, since Brandon believes we're going to see new Big Sur icons with iOS. So yeah, this does kinda align with the bogus reports, but personally I'm hoping this is right, since it's pretty odd that macOS and iOS have contrasting looks. They should be merged together, and so giving us that Big Sur design language to iOS would be a nice change. And yes, I know this won't be a major redesign, but at this point, even minor design changes would be appreciated. But anyways, the good news keeps on coming, because Brandon then says we could see a new wallpaper UI with iOS. Now this was actually leaked a few years ago. There was a screenshot of this new UI that gave you access to gradients and colors specifically from the wallpaper you chose. So for example, the lock screen could be the wallpaper you chose, and then the home screen can be a gradient or a specific shade of color you've chosen from the lock screen wallpaper. And yes, I would love to see this. I'm a pretty big fan of gradients, and so natively having support for that within iOS would be pretty mad. But I'm pretty skeptical of this happening because, as I said, this was a screenshot from years ago and we still do not have the feature, so yeah, that leak might have been bogus. We'll have to see if Brandon is right. Anyways, moving to the next thing, we could see adaptive dark modes. Now I'm assuming this means you could force some sites within Safari to go dark modes. I believe some Android phones can do this, and so yes, it would be nice to have on iOS. And finally, we have rumours regarding a new control center that could be based on the Big Sur redesign we saw with macOS. Now this, much like the wallpaper tidbit, has been mentioned in the past many times, and so I'm pretty skeptical about this. But again, like I said with the icons, I would love to see iOS and macOS use similar design languages, and so this would be a nice upgrade. But yeah, basically that's all the iOS 16 details for you guys. Tell me in the comments below, which of these features do you want to see materialize? Anyways, thank you for watching guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out the video above on details regarding Apple's VR headset. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya peeps.